Dear respected Thai, dear community, today is the 2nd of November, the year 2023, and we are in the rain retreat. And today is a special day. We call it Lay Practitioner Day, where we are only the three Hamlet lay practitioners come together and spend a day of mindfulness. Today I come with empty hand, no weapon. And I want this talk is a co-creation talk. So I don't have to speculate what you need to hear and prepare it day and night. So I want you to prepare the ingredient, and I will do my best to cook that ingredient. It's like the cooking team, we cannot really prepare the dish. So this afternoon in your lunch time is the same. It depends on what is there in the cooler. And then the cook will cook what is there, and then we just enjoy what is being served on the table. So this morning we can do the same with the Dharma talk. You provide me the ingredient, and I will use the kitchen of the collective consciousness to cook that ingredient, and hopefully it come out good. Yeah. Maybe we just need 8 ingredients. It means around 8 questions. Questions that we all care, or most of us care. A question that we are curious about in our practice. A question that when we hear that topic, we feel listened to, and we feel like we can have hope after we listen to that topic. So I would like to have that question, maybe 8 questions. You can ask in English, in French, in Spanish, and then the translator will help us to translate the question into English. I have 2 mic. Do you have mic too? Okay. So those, I saw, is there a hand? Here? Okay. So there's one hand already behind. If we can pass the mic to our friend. Maybe one mic around here, if there is anybody around here. You just need to press the... Okay, let me go down so that I can write down the questions.
Dear Thai, dear Sangha, when I came here to Upper Hamlet the first time, that was in 2016, and in 2017 I came here with my teen son. And I couldn't stay here because I didn't feel really well here, so I stayed outside, and my son was staying here in a tent. So I didn't really know why I didn't feel well, but after the years I found now the reason, or maybe I knew it, but I didn't want to acknowledge it. And it is for me difficult to affront so many men. So my question is, I'm afraid of men. And this creates a lot of distortion in my head, but I have to acknowledge it. And as I do a work where I have to do a lot with women, I care only about women almost, I know I'm not the only one.
And the question is?
The question is, how can men help women have less fear?
How can men help less fear? Okay, this is the first question. Second question.
I don't know how shared this is, but I have a question that's been alive for the last year, and it's how to welcome the other person. So in a way of empathize with the other person without destabilizing my harmony.
How to feel empathy with the why, is that correct?
With the other person.
With empathy. Without disturb my stability, is that?
Harmony, yeah.
My inner harmony.
Good morning, dear Sangha. I remember seeing a very short video of Thai where someone asked about gender and transgender, and he said, "Be beautiful, be yourself." And in September, my young adult child who defines or identifies as non-binary shared with us that they are actually female, although they were born male, or at least with a male anatomy. And it's a revolutionary transition in our family. And I wonder if you might shed some light on the Buddhist understanding and practice of recognizing the being inside, but also that we are cloaked, in a sense, in these bodies, and how to make peace with all of that.
Can you summarize your question?
Yes. Can you shed light and transmit a Buddhist understanding of gender and transgender? Thank you.
Shining light on the gender or transgender according to the Buddha's teachings. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Dear Thai, dear Sangha, so my question today is how to dance on a daily basis between the ultimate and the historical dimension, and how to embrace the paradox that these two different experiences can bring.
How to embrace the historical and the ultimate dimension.
Yeah, and like the paradox or the different kind of realities they bring.
Let me write these words. How to embrace historical and the ultimate reality correspond to?
Yeah, it's like how to dance between these different experiences and the paradox that, in my experience, they feel like being
Okay. So how to
very
embrace,
different.
okay. In our life, basically. In life, okay.
Can I? Dear Thai, dear Sangha, here.
Where are you?
Here.
Okay.
My question is how to remember the practices throughout the day without having to think of them
Okay.
all the time.
How to remember to practice without have to all the practices without thinking about it all the time. Okay. I saw a hand over there, here. There are two mics. Okay, so we have Bea, and then after that, yeah. Turn on the mic first, maybe.
Is possible if I ask in Spanish and
Yeah.
she so está en relación a algunas preguntas que ya se han hecho y me pregunto que si a través de la práctica has observado y consideras que la masculinidad y la feminidad en relación a las maneras de comportarnos, pensar y sentir que hemos aprendido de forma diferenciada.
A ver, más o menos la pregunta es si a través de la práctica.
In English.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So the question is through practice, have you observed the masculinity and femininity?
Way to behave. How are, in your view, the differences between masculinity and femininity in the way that we behave and our daily manners? If through the practice you could see if the ways of thinking, feeling, and acting of masculinity and femininity can be transformed.
Can we transform the way we think and behave that is based on femininity and masculinity? Is that correct? Yeah? This one first, yeah. Oops, sorry.
how can I help a young adult reconcile with their estranged father?
How to help
A young adult
a young adult
to reconcile
reconcile
with their estranged father.
with their
Estranged, that means the father is no longer in the family
okay.
because the parents were divorced.
Okay. How can we help a young adult to reconcile with the father who is not at home or divorced? Right? I saw a few hands, but I think only can have one. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Cher Sangha, cher frère, ma question, face à l'injustice de notre monde, comment garder confiance en l'humanité?
Yeah. With the injustice, how can we trust or have confidence on humanity? So this is our ingredient. So let's see what it comes out from the kitchen. Let us listen to the one sound of the bell so that we can breathe together with the question. Maybe we can collect the mic. Yeah. One for me in case this one does not work, and one can keep at the bell. Yeah. Thank you. We are so lucky that this retreat, the theme is ethics. And it helped me to answer all of these questions. Because some of these questions are in the body, some of this question is in the mind, and some of the question is in the speech. So when the question is still related to the mind, to the body, and to the speech, then we have hope. Unless our concern is go beyond the mind, the body, and the physical action, then we have no hope. But if our concern is still related the way we think, the way we act, and the way we speak, then we really have hope. Because the practice of mindfulness is to help us to come back to ourselves, to get in touch with our body and our mind. And these three actions is coming out from the body and the mind. And if we know how to channel our thinking, our body, and our speech, then we know that we can navigate the three of them. And what happens when we don't have the navigation? Then our action, the way we think, the way we speak, and the way we act, it is very undirected, very dispersed, and it will be based on confusion. It's like you try to flow the water without a river. How can we flow the water without a path? If we don't make the bottom have a, how you call it this? If the bottom is flat, the water cannot flow. So you need to make some angle so that the water can flow. And not only that, we need to create a kind of a drain so that the water can flow together. Otherwise, it's very dispersed. And with the practice of mindfulness, we are able to help to channel, to make a path for our thinking, our speech, and our action. And we want to make a path for the water to flow. Maybe you need to build something on the side to have a protection so that the water can be contained and it can flow easily. So the 5 mindfulness training for me is very precious to help us to identify which thinking that can cause suffering and which thinking that can bring about happiness and freedom. But not only thinking, but also physical action and also the speech. So for the first question and the third question, and also the 6th question, we are so happy that we have revised the mindfulness training, and now it is there for us to practice to overcome these 3 questions. And the very first thing we practice is to not discriminate any gender. This is what it says when you want to love. This love is not only the romantic love, but just love in general. Nowadays, one thing that we need to pay attention is the diversity of the gender. So we need to pay attention to that. If we still have a discrimination between this gender and that gender, for the nowadays, happiness and suffering can occur. Yeah. Yesterday we listened to Thai's video. We need to identify what is the suffering of nowadays. And nowadays, something that is very important, one of them, beside of all crises that is happening, is also gender identity. So when we still have discrimination, what is man, what is woman, and what is not man and woman, then the suffering will be there. And in the video, Thai also shared very clearly, if there is a path of suffering, there is a cause of the suffering too. And with very detailed explanation, Thai also explained there is a way to go out from that. And the way to go out from that is the Noble Eightfold Path. And if we read the 5 mindfulness training introduction, it is stated very clearly that the 5 mindfulness training is also based on the 4 Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. So the first thing we need to overcome is to have a right view on man and woman first. And maybe that idea can make us suffer. Because in the talk also Thai say that if we cannot see the interbeing nature and we see that there is some ultimate separation, a separate self, then we also suffer. So when we see that man is one thing and woman is another thing only, then we suffer. Not only the man toward woman and woman towards man will suffer, but man towards man also will suffer, and woman towards woman will suffer too. Because we start to see who is more woman and who is not, and who is more man and who is not man. Yeah. With the eyes, with the ear, we identify that. So we need to overcome all of that idea. So I guess the man can help the woman to have less fear, and the woman also can have less fear to men. And also, woman can help also men to have less fear towards women. All the direction. Yeah. Because the fear is coming from the wrong view and wrong perception. Yeah. And I think this is also applied to number 6. We can have a lot of suffering when we have that separation between masculinity and femininity. Yeah. That make us feel more not satisfied or does not belong to. Because we make our own category. What is man and what is woman? And as we know that none of us, we have the same shape, the same form, I think we cannot have identical form. But yet, in our mind, we create some kind of identical category that all can be categorized as men and all can categorize as women. And now we have a new one, how to categorize a non-binary. So before we have a question, am I man enough? Am I woman enough? And maybe now we have a new suffering. Am I non-binary enough? We have to be aware of that. Am I trans enough to be called as a trans person? For me, in my practice, I practice as everything that has ultimate and historical, as it is mentioned. Number 4. Yeah. Everything has historical, everything has ultimate. Historically, at the moment, I'm a monk, but ultimately, I'm not only a monk. Yeah. I am also a son of my parents. I am also a brother of my siblings at home. I am also a friend. I am also many things as possible. I'm everything. Yeah. So in terms of gender identity, for me, it's the same. I identify as man, but I don't want to have concept what man is, so that I'm free to express myself. If someone outside of me look at me and say that, oh, he's not very man, then I know that is not my problem. Yeah. That I don't need to think about it too much. Yeah. And I have to trust that that person has his or her view and can change later on. I don't need to try to correct that person. So we need to have that freedom so that we can be functioning in the historical dimension, and we can be free in the ultimate. In the ultimate, I don't need any identification. Yeah. I can express myself freely as man, woman, or anything. But I'm practicing be beautiful, be myself. So everything in our life we can identify in terms of historical and also ultimate. Visually, you may see that I am an Asian person. Yeah. And I'm okay. Historically, I identify as Asian. But ultimately, I'm free. You may feel like, oh, I'm sometimes like African, sometimes like European, sometimes like American. It's fine. I don't mind. And if someone say, I think you are not Asian enough, then I know that is not my problem. Because I am just being myself. So each of us, we need to see ourselves in the light of good enough. I'm good enough as an Asian. I'm also good enough as not as Asian. Yeah. Because whatever manifests, it is me. And I want to be what is there. Yeah. If I get caught in the historical, I will suffer. Because I am Indonesian. And I got a Vietnamese name. A name that I cannot even pronounce correctly. So if I get caught in that historical identity, that I am Indonesian, I need to be Indonesian, and I don't want to have Vietnamese name because I am not Vietnamese, obviously. But that is historical, it's okay. I just use it for historical purpose. I have more than one name. I'm not only Bao Tang, but in English, there are some people call me Brother Treasure. And in French, some people call me Frère Trésor. And in Spanish, some people call me Hermano Tesoro. And they are all my names, ultimately. And all of them are correct. And I don't need to attach to any of them. And when I go home, my family will call me my birth name. And in Indonesia, we have a situation. When I was born, we are not allowed to use the Chinese name in the paperwork. So at home, I have a Chinese name. And when I go out from home, I have a different name. Yeah. So when I go home, my family will call me the Chinese name. And when I go out to the office or to my school, somebody will call me with Indonesian name. So I have lived like that, with multiple identity. Yeah. So when it comes to gender identity, it's become easy. Yeah. That I don't take it into a problem anymore. Like spiritual identity is the same. I don't have to get caught in being a monk or not a monk. Should I be a monk or should I not? I just be myself. And I identify myself as what is needed at that time, historically. So that my life can move forward, that I can function, I can interact with my environment properly, freely. Yeah. So the 5 mindfulness training, especially the 3rd mindfulness training, is very helpful for us to check our mind, our way of viewing the world, especially on the topic on gender. Yeah. So we can start from that step and then continue. And then the first mindfulness training can help us too, to help us from suffering that caused by discriminative and dualistic way of thinking. Yeah. So in that way, we keep our mind, we contain our mind in a track where our mind does not astray to somewhere else while we are facing our difficulty. And we have one by one training will help us to get out from our difficulty. And from the first mindfulness training, we go to the second mindfulness training. That our happiness is not depends on the external condition. So if outside of me, people told me that I'm not man enough, I know that is from outside. And that should not be my measure of my happiness. I need to find a way to free myself. Because once we have that separation, we can have a lot of suffering. Yeah. And since I'm involved in gender diversity community, I have heard a lot of things and experienced a lot of things too. We may think that if we are queer, we are free from identity. Or when we think that we don't want to identify anymore, then we are free. Yeah. But still, we still identify as non-identification. Yeah. So the mind is very tricky. Yeah, it's very tricky. We always want to have somewhere to dwell so that we feel safe. But as soon as we can dwell somewhere, then we get caught. Yeah. So how to feel empathy with the other person without disturbing our inner harmony? This is also the same. We need to have a certain right view on what is me and what is not me. I pay attention in myself when I see someone suffer, especially someone that I know and someone that I'm close to. I see that there is this huge aspiration to help that person to be free from suffering. And several times I discover that I feel very angry after that to that person because that person does not want to follow what I say. And then I start to doubt, am I compassionate to that person actually? Am I helping that person actually? And then slowly I learned that there is something called empathetic distress. We feel suffer when someone suffers. And we are doing our best to relieve the suffering of that person in order for us not to feel pain. Let's say you have a friend that suffers a lot, and in a desperate situation, and you also feel desperate. And you try to think how is the best for this person to do. And you may suggest this person 10 suggestions, what this person need to do. Maybe he need to diet, we need to go to this or go to that, read this book or read that book. And the whole effort that you do is to free that person from the suffering so that you don't have suffering too. And when I look at that in myself, I see that that is not very helpful. But if I don't say anything, if I don't do anything, how can I bear this pain to see the other person is painful? I have this situation with my mom. One time I went back to Indonesia and take care of my mom who is sick. So I will give her advice about what food she need to eat, which she didn't like it, and how she need to eat, the way that she didn't like it too. And this process, it will be long because I need to go back and take care of her for a month or two. And then at the same time, I also get confused in my mind because I'm tired. Because when I take care of her, I need to clean, I need to shop, I need to cook. And then if she does not sleep, I didn't sleep too. Yeah. But I still have to do all of these things. Yeah. And she is incapable at that time. She was incapable at that time. Yeah. So when she does not want to follow, then I get angry very quickly because I was tired too. Yeah. And then it happened day by day, 1 week, 2 weeks. After 1 week, I start to kind of have a bell of mindfulness in me and asking myself, what am I doing here? Flying from France to Indonesia, cross through several continents in order to fight with someone who is sick. instead of helping her to recover quickly. So I asked this question to myself in order to have a quicker insight to come out. And then I contemplate on that and I have insight. I see that I go home with the distress of empathy, and I want her to be healthy, and I want her to be recover very quickly. I'm so impatient, and I don't even listen to her what she wants and what is good for her. And it's also for me there is a feeling of I don't want to cause more destruction in her health by giving the food that she's not supposed to eat. So there is some guilt also happening. But at the end, I say to myself, I'm not a child, and she's not a child either. Why not we just have a conversation about how she wants me to do? Because I go home in order to support, not to decide. Yeah. So we have a chance to sit down, and I explain to my mom that I don't want to fight anymore because I think it is not good for her recovery. And I come to support. I think, and sometimes she also like to ask me, can I eat this, can I eat this, like a child. And of course I will say no, and then she will not be happy. So I told her, like, you just need to tell me what you want to eat. Yeah. And I will tell you what is the impact, and you can decide. If you say yes, I will prepare it for you. So we agree on that. Yeah. So we agree on that, and I also feel like I need a mother, and I want a mother, and I want to be a son for her, not to be a doctor, not to be a nutriment specialist. Yeah. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be her father also. I want just to be her son. And I just want to be there and support, and she can decide and I can support. So since we have that agreement and the way of looking is adjusted, of the dualistic mind, of the confusion of the mind, that I'm better than her. This is also another complex. So we come to conclusion that we can communicate and to agree upon what she needs and what I can do. Then we have a peaceful 1.5 months. Then the situation getting better. So it's good sometimes when we have someone who suffer, we let that person know that we are there for them. Yeah. Tell them verbally that I'm there. I'm there. If you need support, let me know. And I will let you know if I can support. Yeah. Because we don't want to have that person lose their sovereignty. You want to keep that person independent of themselves. And we just want to support that person. And whatever we suggest, it is just a suggestion. It's not an obligatory things that that person need to do. Just an input to their situation. So we just give input, and that person can decide. And of course, sometimes the suggestion can be, or need to be loud, and you have to speak out loudly to that person to wake the person up. Not because we want to get angry, but we really have to be serious, like you need help. for example. From time to time we have to do that. Yeah. Let us listen to one sound of the bell. Check our body and our feeling. Let us put another ingredient now. How to remember all practices all day long without thinking about it all the time. In Upper Hamlet, the 3 months retreatants, we have a class. And our class is about mindfulness. Is it new? No, huh? All of us, we are here for mindfulness. And because we stay here for 3 months, or even you who stay for 1 week, we can say that you are a full-timer practitioner for 1 week, or full practitioner for 2 weeks, or full practitioner for 2 months, a full practitioner for 3 months. And as a full-timer, we want to use the time the most effective possible to cultivate and develop our mindfulness. And that is why we want to practice something called uninterrupted mindfulness to maintain our awareness. Yeah. And we use some different places as our bell of mindfulness. So meditation hall is one bell of mindfulness. It's like when you listen to the bell, you don't need to remember there is bell. And so only when the bell is rang, then you come back to yourself. So it is the same. You start to practice when you are in the meditation hall, for example. And you will practice when you are in dining hall. And you practice when you go to the bathroom. You practice when you go to your bedroom. You practice when you drink tea. So you create your own bell. In the last class, we say that let's try the meditation hall. So in order for the mind not to go away somewhere else, we cut our mind into pieces, so that every piece is a mindfulness practice, so that our mind does not just sleep and slide through the action without conscious. Because if we don't cut into pieces, then we just put our shoes down and then we just walk directly to the cushion, and suddenly you're already at your cushion. Yeah. And you lose the whole process. So we cut them into pieces. Like when we enter from over there, we have to go through the staircase. Then when we practice mindful walking at the staircase, and then we meet a door, then we practice opening the door and close the door. And after that, we have to take off our shoes. Then we take off our shoes mindfully. And then open the door, close the door. Yeah. And then we are not supposed to walk directly. So we cut again. So you join your palm and you bow. And you have to have a gatha. You cut even longer. You have to stay there for a while to recite all the gatha. And after that, you can walk mindfully. Yeah. And then you find your cushion. You don't sit directly also. You stop in your cushion, you join your palm, and you bow to your cushion. And you sit down, and you breathe. So that is already, you already lose some of the forgetfulness. Just enter the meditation hall, you lose many parts. You let go your forgetfulness and transform it into mindfulness. It's the same when you go to the bathroom, you wait. You queue, you breathe. And then you enter to the bathroom, you open the door mindfully, close the door mindfully. And then you do your business. And there's a gatha also in the bathroom that we can practice. So everything, it does not become automatic. It becomes mindfulness. Eating, walking, everything. So we need to be creative to cut our habit into pieces. Yeah. And then you don't have to remember anymore to practice. Once you see the meditation hall, you automatically practice. When you hear the bell, you automatically practice. And after you practice here, you can copy-paste into your home. Yeah. And to do that. So for me, the uninterrupted mindfulness practice is not something that you want to be perfect. It has to be imperfect. But we just increase the frequency, the numbers of being conscious and aware. And that is good enough. Yeah. So after the talk of one of the Dharma talk in this rain retreat, that remind us we need to practice in a way that is uninterrupted. And that sentence, it really helped me to be more mindful than before. Then I have more time of remember to come back to my breath, and when I do something, I can get in touch more with my body. And number 7, how can we help a young adult to reconcile with their father who is not at home or divorced? There is one tendency that often happen, especially when the divorce is not going so well. Instead of watering the good seed of that child, you water the bad seed in that child by telling how bad is the father. Or the other way around. If the child with the father, maybe the father will tell how bad is the mother. Yeah. And if we do that, I don't know how the reconciliation can be easy. Yeah. And that is our tendency. So I see that reconciliation is pretty much very closely with the flower watering. And we can start from that to tell what is the good quality of the father. And to help that young adult to recognize also that good things is in him or her or them. And we can start from there to water the good seed. Because for sure, no matter how terrible that father is, that person must have good seed in him. Yeah. This is the same with ourselves. Sometimes we see ourselves is not good enough for this, is not good enough for that. So if we focus on not good enough, then we become not good. Because that is the seed that we water regularly. So from time to time, we also need to water what is good in us. What is the good quality in us. We need to take time to write that down too. to identify what is good about me. Yeah. Of course, in our consciousness, we have unwholesome seed, but we also have wholesome seed. Equally complete. And we need to water that seed. Right now we have a lot of choices to do something in the world. But because we always think that I'm not good enough, at the end you just stay in your room, cannot do anything. Yeah. So we need to train ourselves to water the good seed. If you water enough good seed, then we slowly can see what you can. Yeah. What you can do. It's the same like me. I become a monk. I may think that I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough for social change. I'm not good enough to help the people outside. I'm not good enough to support my family financially. I may think like this if I'm not careful. Yeah. If I think like this, I will feel like I'm trapped in a monastery and I have like helpless. I cannot do anything. So I need to practice watering the good seed of being a monk. Yeah. I see that shaving my head is already make a change. Yeah. Where everyone cares so much about their hair. Pay thousands and thousands of euro to implant. To make it long, to make extension, to make this color, to make that color. I just throw away every 3 days. That is already quite extreme for the social change. Wearing the same clothes. Every season you have a different style. You can be worried about miss dress code. A winter outfit in the spring. And for us, every outfit is the same. That is already quite extreme too. And I sit down and contemplate, and I can see so many things that is good. So that it make me feel more confident on what I'm doing. And it's the same as you, as a lay practitioner. If you cannot see the good things of being lay practitioner, then you will come into, I'm not good enough too. Maybe monastic is better. So we have that complex. Yeah. Then being a parent is not good. Or having a partnership, relationship is not good. We can think like this. Yeah. So we need to decide what we want. Live what we want. And water the flower of who we are. That is very important. So that when you change your life, it's not because in the past you are not good enough. Yeah. You just continue your life. Yeah. I become a monk is not because I hate my life before. I also love my life before. But there is one thing that I need to grow that I could not find in my life before. Yeah. So that is why I become a monk. It's not because I hate my life before. So we need to water the good seed in us. So this is a homework. Who gave this question? Don't blame me, blame the question. Huh? Because of the question, you got the homework. So that is why we can trust the humanity in the situation of injustice. Because we know that we can water the seed, the good seed. To look at the humanity, what is the good seed of humanity that has not been watered? Because all of the crisis and the difficulty that is existing right now is from the watering. The violence get watered, the confusion get watered, the anxiety get watered. That's why they all manifest. When we come together like this, we co-create a kind of consciousness that is not exists somewhere else. Yeah? Which is the consciousness of self-care, the consciousness of not competing, the consciousness of accepting each other, the consciousness of calming down, the consciousness of self-acceptance, the consciousness of open communication. Yeah. And I'm so happy when I hear there are conflict is happening in the Hamlet. And everyone is trying their best to solve the problem with communication. And this is the consciousness that we are co-creating that is so difficult to find somewhere else. There are some people having conflict and having aspiration to calm the situation down rather than speaking and discussing, to take a few days of distance and then after that they can come together and talk to each other. That is amazing. It's a very progressive human being that do that. Yeah. And I hear that story in Upper Hamlet. So after I hear that, I feel like, wow, it is so nice to have a human being like that can talk to each other, that can have self-awareness. And that is why Thai encourage everybody to create Sangha where you live, in order to have a different kind of consciousness here and there, not only Plum Village, but also the place where you live. You can create a kind of consciousness like that is formed by 3 or 4 people or 5 people, coming together once a month or once every 2 weeks or once a week to co-create that consciousness to be available for yourself and for others. And once this group of people is coming, the consciousness starts to change. Normally everyone is going to the phone, to somewhere else, the mind, and suddenly when these 5 people come together, their mind is coming towards themselves. That is the change of consciousness. Not only the 5 people, but also the collective consciousness. Yeah. And this group of people come together, practice mindful eating, mindful walking, sit still in silence together. And that is a very revolutionary action for nowadays. Everyone is moving, not only moving but fast. But we have a group of people who has a different consciousness, which is stop and sit there for 30 minutes, quietly, peacefully. So there are many revolution things that we can do. Yeah. And from time to time, this group will read the 5 mindfulness trainings together to remind, to water the seed of how to watch, be mindful of our action, our speech, and our body. Yeah. So if we see ourselves, if we can water the good seed in ourselves, and we can see the seed can blooms, then we have hope for the humanity. This year I had a lot of retreat. I cannot believe that I still survived today. A lot of traveling. Yeah. I have energy is because I see that I can help to co-create the collective consciousness together with the Sangha. And the best thing is I don't do it myself alone, with a group of brothers and sisters, with the Sangha. Yeah, we do retreat in Latin America, we did retreat in Germany, and we did retreat in France for the LGBTIQ+ retreat. So every person, every single being can change their consciousness very quickly, very impressive. And then we have a chance here in Plum Village right now to practice 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. And that is very important. Do I miss any ingredient? So after listening to this talk, please don't water the seed of I'm not good enough. Because I have given so many homework. You may think that this is impossible for me. And that is already watering not wholesome seed in us. So be gentle with yourself. So what you have listened right now, note it down. If you can do it directly. If you cannot, make it into the waiting list. Yeah. If you can understand, enjoying it. If you cannot understand, keep it somewhere. It's like you buy, I don't know if you know this. If you buy mango, if it is not ripened, you can keep it for a while, like banana. If it is green, you just keep it some time. It get ripened. It becomes very sweet. So it's the same with the teachings today. If you don't really understand, just keep it somewhere. When you smell the fragrance, then you know it is ripened. Yeah. And if it is ripened now, enjoying it directly. So historical and ultimate has to go together. Right now, it looks like we are doing the practice for ourselves, but we also do for humanity. And this is something that we need to pay attention on all the crises and all the violence that is happening. We can see that it may be happening from outside, but in fact it's also happening inside of us. We also have life crises from time to time. So what we need to do is to be gentle and do what we can. Practicing with the Sangha is very helpful. And I always tell people that Plum Village, we only have 2 healing elements. 1 is the practice schedule, and 2 is the community. But when we suffer so much, these are the 2 things that we let go first. Yeah. We will retreat ourselves from the schedule and from everybody else. And we prefer to stay in our bed. So when we did that, it's okay from time to time. But if it is too often, we know that we miss the biggest healing element that we are having right now. Sometimes I don't feel very good, but when I go out from my residence, seeing different people, because we have so many people, not everyone is suffering. There are many people having a good day. Right? I can take refuge in them. Can take refuge in their happiness and their freshness. And that's how the Sangha, we lean with each other, to each other too. So sometimes we do that. Yeah. I think I should end here. I hope that the food is delicious enough after coming out from your ingredients. Let us listen to the 3 sounds of the bell and just say one good word for yourself inside of you. One word that is wholesome, and give it to yourself as a gift while we listen to the 3 sounds of the bell, and you breathe with that word. On the 5th of November, there will be a novice ordination. So we will have a new monastics. If you know the aspirant that is now, and because after they ordain in the afternoon, they will have be-in. And this is the time when we can also give some small gifts to them to celebrate their happiness. So there will be a session called be-in. We will all put all our gifts in the center of the hall for them. And so if you would like to participate, it's also possible to join, to celebrate that joy together.